And I will never forget from that first run, I just sobbed in my car afterwards because I didn't know what to do.
Unless he shows up, it's gonna fail.
Why don't we all decide to just to come together unto one reason? It's Jesus.
That seems like a simple idea, but people are getting their lives changed and they're encountering Jesus and finding community.
What if he doesn't want you to wait on a 100% clear answer? Because a lot of people wait for some clear answer when half the time he's like, just step off the boat into the water, have faith. Revival starts in the heart of man. Revival doesn't start from good marketing and PR and a good advertisement and good church connections. Our only job is to invite people to come and see. We have nothing to prove. There's no cool agenda we can have. Come and see. All we do is facilitate a space backed by prayer and allow the Holy Spirit to move.
As I was running, it was like he gave me this picture of me running towards him with everything that I was carrying still. As I was running towards him, there were angels that came behind him and started shooting arrows at the things that were holding me back. Bring the drug addict, bring the frat guy who's still hungover throwing up in a bush, bring them all. Come and see. Because once they get a true taste and once they actually see I'm really good and I really care and I'm really in every moment with them, they're never alone.
He calls us to violently love one another.
It's the difference between being seen and being known. We have to come back to who we are. And that's walking in the garden with God. Welcome to Clearly Complicated. I'm Lauren Rarick, and I'm joined with Will Garinger.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. So Will is the founder.
Yeah.
The founder of Run with Christ, or some of you might know it as RWC. It's a running group that I'll let him explain a little bit more about it in detail, but it's kind of taken over the world a little bit in the best way. You've gone international with it, but you started with just weekly Saturday runs, right?
Yeah.
I'll let you give a little spiel of kind of how it started, and then if you want to even tell the backstory of it a little bit before we
Yeah.
get into it. But
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you so much for having me on.
yeah,
Yeah, it was, RWC, Run with Christ. It's basically a run club. To
yeah.
put in its most simplest way, it's a run club that meets on Saturdays.
Mm.
A bunch of random people around Columbus, Ohio, around a year ago in September, all decided to come together. And we're like, hey, we're all kind of segregated in our own little cliques.
Mm.
Why don't we all decide to just to come together unto one reason? It's Jesus.
Yeah.
And around a year ago, a group of people decided to say yes and to step out, and things just kind of took off from there.
That's so cool. I remember it was probably around October. So, did you ever go to one church?
Yeah.
Okay. At that time, I was looking to join a small group, or I was even thinking about maybe doing like a run group with my church. So I looked on there and saw that there was already a run group, and I thought it was cool. Like, oh, maybe like 15 people. And then I looked it up on Instagram, and you had like thousands of followers already just for this run club. And then I had the opportunity to try to partner with you with the previous job that I had. And you got to tell me about how you're seeing consistently like hundreds of people coming out to this run group that seems like a simple idea, but people are getting their lives changed and they're encountering Jesus and finding community. And I was blown away and went to a worship night with it, and I got to go to a prayer night, and it was, I feel like everything that I've been praying to see come to Columbus. I knew, I felt like I was in a little bit of a weird bubble in a way. Like I found good community, but I feel like God really wanted to do something big in Columbus, and I knew it was happening. I just wasn't aware, right?
Mm.
And so being praying about it, and then I saw what you guys were doing, and I'm like, God, this is what I've been looking to see happen to this city. Just true, authentic community, people coming as they are, encountering Jesus, going for a run, all these good things. And I remember after I went to the prayer night, one of my best friends, Lauren, she lives in Chicago, but I was telling her about it it was like a small Thursday night prayer night.
Yeah.
There wasn't a ton of people there, but there were three guys, and you all are probably like in your early 20s, right? Like
Mid to late, some of them mid to
okay.
late. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it was just these three guys. I didn't know anybody there, but I felt old. I'm 34, so I was like, this is cool. But the three guys were just so passionate, and I feel like not only was their passion, because you can get zeal when you're young, like zeal, it's pretty common when you're young, but zeal and passion, and another layer to that was I saw just their memorization of even scripture and just like the depths of their prayers. I told my friend that I felt like I was a baby Christian, and I've been saved since I was 6. I've been pursuing God really since my college days, but like,
Well,
and I thought I was there to impart, not in like a not in a ego way, but I was like, oh, maybe I can help, maybe I can help them. But I'm like, no, 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 they're light years beyond, like, their passion and what God's got in their life. And so I was super encouraged. It's when you go to churches, you see a lot more, the ratio is way more female to male. And I think God's really lifting up young men and women, of course, but like, because that has been a missing piece in the church until recently, like, young men are really coming into their place. And so I saw that, like, I'm even getting goosebumps talking about it. I like saw that in that room, and I'm just like, God's all over this. That's why I wanted to have you on. Just, I know you have had a ton of experiences and you've learned a lot, and can speak into some clearly complicated topics, if you will. But I would love for you to share even just your experience in how you got the idea, what you thought it was maybe going to be, but then, like, did it meet your expectations? Are you still blown away by what it's turned out?
yeah.
What was your process?
Yeah, no, hearing you talk about the posture and simply from an external view that you have, you came in and you saw 3 guys with no agenda but to desperately cry out to God.
Yeah.
Not unto a specific church, not unto a specific movement like Run with Christ, not unto even a specific prayer room.
Yeah.
None of them are paid, none of them are staffed. These are guys that just love the Lord and are willing to lose their dignity, their embarrassment, and pride
Yeah.
to cry out to God in the middle of downtown on a Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. with 20 to sometimes 100 people in the room. And that's been going on every Thursday since January. So yeah, like, seeing that, and then let's rewind it back 9 months ago, 10 months ago in September. I mean, I didn't grow up desperately crying out to God. I didn't grow up with men desperately crying out to God in my life. I grew up in a great Christian home, Christian environment, K through 12 Christian school, which is very passive and apathetic my whole life. And so to give high level testimony, very passive, apathetic, lukewarm, like whatever adjective you wanted to describe Christianity other than being on fire for God. That was pretty much the definition of my life until I was met by the love of God in September. And this was even after I started Run with Christ. I was still living in open disobedience when Run with Christ first started. And I feel like people are afraid to say that, but like, I was actively getting delivered and freed from like old desires. And it was September 12th of 2024. I was met by the love of God and I had an encounter. Like, I haven't looked back since.
Yeah.
And I feel like when it came to Run with Christ, it wasn't built from this place of, oh, I received this revelation from God and now let's go ahead and start out this 3-year vision on how we're going to have a ministry that's a run club with the prayer room and worship nights in all these different cities. And then we're going to travel to each of the different cities and hundreds are going to gather. And then we're going to be connected to this church and then this ministry. And then we're going to fundraise. Like, none of that. Run with Christ was I was bored, working construction, planning on doing real estate last summer. And I was like, man, I want to see community come together, not just from a specific church or I'm a part of this fraternity. I'm like, no, like, I want a community to come together like unto the gospel to make heaven full. And I was too afraid to start it. May, June, July, end of July rolls around. I used to start spreading the word. Like, I was meeting up with one church in Rock City, 614, like every church around Columbus. And like, out of nowhere, a group chat of like 50 random 20-something, 30-something-year-olds were together. Every single one of them was like, yes, we're in. So we started Saturday, September 7th. Had over a couple hundred show up to that first run. And I will never forget from that first run, I just like sobbed in my car afterwards because I didn't know what to do. I literally basically searched up good devotional ideas to a certain topic beforehand because I never cared to share devotional, spread the gospel, evangelize, like the Great Commission. To me, that was so foreign. How is it that I grew up 19, 20 years of my life with not one convicting voice, or for me to have a personal revelation of like, oh, maybe Will, you should die to your dignity. Why don't you die to yourself, like the Bible actually says, and like pick up your cross? And so when Run with Christ started, I was like, okay, sick. This is a great community. A couple hundred people got together. This is hype. And then like weekend after weekend, I started hearing stories of like, oh, I stopped drinking. Oh, I got saved there. Hey, can I come over for your guys' hangouts on Friday nights?
Wow.
Hey, can I come to one church? At the time I was going to one church.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can I come to church with you guys? And we were just like saving seats. Group of frat guys showed up slightly hungover, heard a story of them, one of them puking in a bush. And it's like I look at these guys now and it's like not the same. It's unreal. None of that came from some crazy ministry vision, some 3-year build out plan on how we're going to sustain it. We overcomplicate it.
That's so true. Yeah.
We overcomplicate it because we're taught like, let's get man's hands into it. Let's make it our agenda, our systems. And it's like, what if God's just looking for a yes? And what if maybe he doesn't want you to idolize this clarity? What if he doesn't want you to wait on 100% clear answer, because a lot of people wait for some clear answer when half the time he's like, just step off the boat into the water, like have faith. And you just saw people stop idolizing clarity. And you saw a group of people say, you know what? Lord, I pray for more faith.
Yeah.
And let's literally and figuratively run. Like we were running last fall and we're still running. And it's been the best 9 months since Saturday, September 7th.
It's been so evident too that God's all over it because, like you said, there was no agenda other than just Jesus. And like, let's just follow the Spirit, what he's doing. And there's been worship nights and prayer nights, but it's also spread to other cities too. And I mean, sometimes there does have to be a system in place in that regard. But even with that, I feel you all have done a really good job, just from outside looking in, of course, but of taking that mission and sharing it and not choke holding it, if that makes sense. You're allowing other people to have a piece of the vision that God gave you for this, which was just follow Jesus, right? And bring a community together around Jesus. But you're not hovering, helicoptering, managing every single city, right? You're just, what can I offer? What can I give? How has that looked like now that it has spread? Because I can see there's such a temptation to try to control it. Like, no, this is how it works. But sometimes like how things work in Columbus might not work the same way in Huntington Beach or wherever else it's taken off, or even in Europe, other than the singular message of Jesus, right? Like, how have you been so open-handed with it? What did that process look like when you've started to see it grow?
Yeah. I feel like what I've had to learn is that God made RWC something good.
Mm-hmm.
When RWC became something good, and we had a realization of how good RWC was, that's normally the point where man tries to become everything, because now that they became something, now it's become everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we become God at that point, because we've found a taste of success. We found revival in Columbus. We found this worked in Columbus. Let's scale and duplicate this to every city across the world right now. And here's the system you guys are going to do that with. Is that what God wants? I haven't reached out to a single city before. We don't prospect cities because revival starts in the heart of man. Revival doesn't start from good marketing and PR and a good advertisement and good church connections. And I feel like we just slap the name revival on so many things. It's like, is it really? Or did some random 24-year-old from Cincinnati that had some of the craziest addictions just a few months before DM me over Instagram saying, hey, I want this to come to Cincinnati. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. We hopped on a call, shared his testimony. He drove up to Columbus. I invited him to come up to Columbus and just meet our family, our friends. He hung out and he was just tearing up around the campfire. Said, I've never seen a family like this. Drives back home end of October. October, November, December comes, Cincinnati has a leadership team of around 20 to 30, have their first run club, just under 100 people and 30 degrees. A month later, they have their first worship night with over 600 people and 20 baptized. That didn't come from Will's agenda, Will's system. That came from God putting a desire in someone else's heart. And for me to discern, okay, God, if this is you, don't let me get in the way. It's like, am I inviting people? Because here's truly my only job for the rest of my life. I want to invite you to come and look at him with me. So much of the time in leadership, I have to there's this temptation subconsciously, I don't even like to think that I do this, but I have to reflect and look back, even just convicting right now of the past 9 months. How often am I inviting people to come look at me and then look at God after they see me?
Wow, yeah.
And that's when we get in the way. That's where church hurt comes in. That's where ministries plateau. That's where people leave. That's where people have faith in man, because you're the only person, you're the God. You're the voice of God. And my whole motto, literally, without even purposefully doing it, I remember around November, October, I was like, guys, everything we post for these worship nights and run clubs should just be come and see. Our only job is to invite people to come and see. We have nothing to prove. There's no cool agenda we can have. Come and see. All we do is facilitate a space backed by prayer and allow the Holy Spirit to move with some order. And it's just beautiful. But you don't know why that doesn't happen in a lot of settings? There's a lot of people, including myself, for a period of time, and even I have to it's not a one-time die to self thing. It's like a daily of operating from a place of fear. If I don't know what's happening and can't control what's going to happen in San Diego and NorCal and all these places, Europe, the devil will get you to believe 1,000 lies of the what ifs. But I think the most freeing thing for me is I didn't even have it on my agenda to have it start in Cincinnati. So if it didn't start for me, for it to be in Cincy, let alone Finland and London, who am I to worry that some agenda or creativity lack I'm having is going to stop it? What's sustained in the flesh will be sustained in the flesh, won't die in the flesh, but what's sustained by the Spirit lasts in eternity. And even talking about that now is so freeing. It's freeing. And so many pastors and leaders and people, it's so easy to get conformed to the fears of man. Be so conformed to the fears of, you sit down with people and it's like, well, this happened to me, I'd warn you in this, and there's wisdom in that. But then slowly you start drifting away from who God created you to be because you heard 10 failure stories. So now in your mind, you're like, man, if I decide to travel here, is this going to happen here? And then you just become this paranoid Christian, and there's nothing more dangerous than a paranoid Christian.
Yeah. Dang, that's so good.
That was a ramble.
No, that was great. Honestly, it had me going in so many different directions. There's just a lot of wisdom on what you said. It's super easy now that anybody can be an influencer, now that anybody can have a platform or a stage, the temptation to control it and make it, when you said, not you, but you were giving the example, if someone has to see you before they see God, it's like you are their voice of God, but that's not the goal. That's not what Jesus wants us to do. It's all about inviting them to come and see, because you can't make it happen. And if you can make it happen, then it's actually probably not God, unless he shows up, it's gonna fail. It's that kind of situation. And you talked about, it wasn't this boardroom meeting ministry idea that was birthed or whatever out of that. It was so organic, and it even came out of a moment where you were like, I was living in open disobedience when it started. God wasn't afraid of that on you. He didn't wait until you were perfectly clean. And okay, this is where I'm trying to go, so I'll get there faster.
Let's go there.
We're going there.
Jump in.
Has to do with running. So here we go. I run a lot, okay? And God talks to me a lot when I run, or I process a lot with him when I run. I think it's so good to be moving and, get outside, right? I was running, living in open disobedience. This was probably like a decade ago. And I knew God was real. I had no doubt in my mind. I'd seen too much. I'd seen too many miracles. I'd seen him come through too many times, but I was just like, I still want to do this like my way, you know? But don't forget about me though, God. Don't forget about me. And so I was running and I was just like, God, like, you know, I'll come back eventually. I'm not ready yet. Like, I need to get my life in order and I'll come back to you. Just don't forget about me in the meantime because I know you're God. And he's like, oh, okay, well, come anyways. And I was like, no, God, I'll come back when I'm, you know, set and I'm ready and I'm clean again, whatever. And he was like, no, I heard you, like, come to me anyways, though. And I was like, what? And as I was running, my imagination goes wild, right? But as I was running, it was like he gave me this picture of me running towards him with everything that I was carrying still. I didn't stop anything, right? But as I was running towards him, there were angels that came behind him and started shooting arrows at the things that were holding me back. And I didn't even notice them falling off. I just kept running and kept my eyes on him. And he was saying, as you run towards me, as you get the revelation of who I am and how much I actually love you, all that stuff falls off. It's not really holding you as tight as you think it is, you know? And so
good.
I think that's kind of a picture of even of what was going on at the beginning of this too. You're like, God, I know you're good, like all this stuff. And maybe you didn't even have that thought of mentally like, maybe I shouldn't because I'm still doing XYZ or whatever. But God was like, oh man, what was it, September 12th? You said you had the encounter? It doesn't matter, Will, because on September 12th, all of that's going to fall off anyways. Like, it's not saying you're going to be perfect for the rest of your life, but you're going to have a revelation of who I am. And none of that's really going to matter or hold on to you as tightly as it seems to right now. And that's what God's doing in this whole movement. It's like, yeah, bring the drug addict, bring the frat guy who's still hungover throwing up in a bush, bring them all. Come and see. Because once they get a true taste and once they actually see I'm really good and I really care and I'm really in every moment with them, they're never alone. Like we're just so delusioned or so, it's fear. Like you said, fear keeps us locked in, but it's the love of God that casts out fear, right? So I think everything you just said, it's just like beautiful. And the come and see, I know before we started recording, you were talking about the concept of the table, and that's like something that's really on your heart right now. Can you explain the table, like what that concept is for you?
Yeah. I feel like when it comes to the table, I feel like when it comes to the table, it's such a simple and almost kind of offensive to some people because they're like, oh, come on, man, you can't just use spiritual ethereal language. And it's like, there's nothing spiritual about this. Like,
Right.
what this is basically a table.
Mm.
This is Will coming without his ministry crown, without his ministry hat. Flo coming without her ministry crown, her ministry hat. We're coming around the table as children of God, fully confronting ourselves and having a conversation that's glorifying him right now.
Mm.
That's the table. And the thing we miss is that we focus so much, including myself. I realize I focus so much on the expression that comes from the table. For example, like Jesus, yes, he had the large gatherings, he had the feeding of the 5,000, he had the Temple Mount, like all of these different things. But his ministry was at the table with the 12, with the 3. For me, I have to look at that. Like if the Son of Man that rose from the dead did ministry around a table, who am I to not do ministry around a table? And a table is unto nothing but the Lord. A table is not unto a ministry, because the minute it becomes unto a ministry, it's just an expression then. A table is so holy and sacred. And I feel like in the church and in leadership and in cities, I actually don't think the problem, and this could pivot, but I really don't want it to, it all ties into the table. You know how like you hear people say like, oh, unity, 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 like, oh, we're going to unify the church, we're going to unify this. I have to really analyze, am I just unifying unto unity because unity feels good? Unity feels great being an atheist. Unity feels great being Buddhist. No one likes being divided.
Yeah.
But in John 17, unity so that people know who I am and my Father. Oh my gosh, that's like the greatest burn to have unity in the church. And I actually don't think the problem is, oh, the churches in Columbus, they're bantering one another, they're competing. That could be true in some settings, but I feel like people are really over dramatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh man, churches are just so competitive nowadays. And I'm like, back that up. Please back up where you see churches competing, talking bad about one another. I don't really see that, but what I do see though is Jesus, it's so applicable. Jesus doesn't call me to not just not harm you, to not just not talk bad about you, to stay defensive as long as I don't. No, he calls us to violently love one another.
Yeah.
How does that not apply to the church setting? I think the issue is that churches actually aren't spurring one another on, building each other, connecting one another, supporting one another. But guess what church did that? The very first church, the Acts 2 church, around a table, giving what they had, breaking of bread, communion, sharing everything they had, forsaking everything for the gospel, unto nothing but seeking Jesus.
Yeah.
But our tables become this ministry, and our tables become this ministry. And that's good, because an individual ministry needs their individual ministry meetings. But we talk about the table, and a table is a place where you take off that crown, where you take off that mask. Because if people just know me as Will, the leader in RWC, no one will ever know who I fully am, fully everything being brought forth. And unless there's an intentional space, which there's nothing holier than a table, where you take communion. Communion is one of the holiest things.
Yeah.
You show up to a table fully open, ready to talk to the Father. Because no one wants to go to the dinner table with their dad and their dad not talk to them and you not talk to your dad.
Yeah.
I mean, people probably watching this, me, like, you can grow up in a household and the dinner table's quiet. No one wants to open up. It's the same questions every single night. God is the best father of all time. He's sitting there with the biggest smile on his face, waiting for you to come to the table to seek him, to bring your frustrations, your anger, your praises, your thanksgiving. And I think the thing that lacks, to sum it up, is that as a whole, my heart is to bring the table back to Columbus and every city.
Yeah.
Because it's from the table that flows everything. It's from the table that flows podcast.
Right.
It's from the table that flows RWC, flows One Church, flows Rock City, flows all these movements, women's groups, men's groups, this idea. Because God wants to birth different things in different people.
Yeah.
But what we do is we suppress people under our narrative and our own agenda. Oh no, this table is unto what I'm doing and what we're doing.
Yeah.
What if the 10 people around that table are actually meant to have a different expression? They just never know it because they're too afraid to come to that table and confess it.
Yeah.
When it comes to the table, it's so simple, but we make it complex. It's like a well, for example. Like, a well, you're driving through a road and you look to your right and there's just some brick circles sticking up out of the ground. And you're like, well, that looks simple, dumb. Then you look down it, and it's 1,000 feet deep, full of living, breathing water. And to me, like, that's the table. That's the gospel. That's the Christian life. Like, it's not shiny and extravagant. It looks so simple on the surface, but then you look on the inside, it's just full of living water, hundreds of feet deep, and it never stops getting dug.
Yeah.
And for me, I look at a table, and I look at the church today, and I just look at all these different expressions and pastors and people and issues and faults that I've had as a leader and as a man of God in the past 9 months. And I have to think to myself I wonder if the problem why I feel resentment towards people, or people feel resentment towards me, or maybe there's this passivity amongst people and leaders and ministries, is because we don't fully know each other as children of God around the table unto nothing. I can't imagine what would happen if the top 20 pastors around Columbus, around the city, decided to come together, take off their ministry masks, take off their crowns that the Lord gave them, that one day they will lay down in eternity, if they came around the children as a bunch of dumb kids around the table. Like I'm a dumb kid just getting around the table with a bunch of other kids that need God, and we can let God be God. Because then guess what? When Billy across from me at the table, who leads this ministry, I'm not seeing Billy as this ministry leader. I'm seeing Billy as a child of God that loves the Lord, and I know loves me, and I love him. So now when he goes off, has a ministry bigger than mine, has hundreds of thousands of people showing up to whatever, like I don't care. I'm so happy for him because I don't know Billy as that ministry leader. I know Billy as that guy I had Raising Canes with across the table. And we think like, oh, when you hear that, you're like, yeah, it's getting to know each other. We don't do that.
Yeah, it's the difference between being seen and being known. That's what God's been talking to me a lot about. There's been so many seasons where I felt like I was hidden, whether I hid myself or just wasn't being seen for what I could bring to the table or valued, like, whatever that was. And God's like, why are you trying to be seen? If that's how you get there, if you're going in that direction, sure, you might be seen, you might be looked at, but no one's gonna know you. It's all about knowing, like knowing the Father, knowing each other. And that's the concept you're talking about too, where big time ministries that become, and it's not like we're trash talking ministries by any means at all,
No,
but
we need more bigger ministries.
yes.
There's millions of people. We need more.
Yes.
We need more bigger ministries. We need more tables though.
Yes, and I agree 100%. So I want to make sure like it didn't come across that
Yeah.
way. It's the heart posture. Like, am I wanting to be seen and perceived a certain way, or am wanting to be known? Because if we're known, like you're talking about the idea of having 20 pastors come around and know each other. You know how many pastors' lives that would save if they were just allowing themselves to be known? All of the pressure, because when you are leading a group of people into something that could seem very like, oh, the pastor has it all together, he knows all the answers, his life is perfect, but he's like, actually, I am struggling, like whatever it is behind the scenes. If he can get around people and be known and be seen and can share his struggles without fear of losing his platform, whatever it is, or whatever he needs in that moment, he can actually be seen and known. And I think that's really important what you're saying. And that's the table. Yeah. The difference of being seen and being known. I think that's where the paradigm shift comes in for people. Everyone wants to be seen. Like, how many views did you get on your video? How many likes did you get on your video? Okay, maybe like 1 million, but do they know your middle name? Do they know what your biggest fears or your biggest success or what your, whatever is like? Do they know you? Are you actually known? Because if you're not actually known, then it's empty.
Why do you think Christians, believers, people that love the Lord, why do you think they never come to the table when invited? Do you feel like because I feel this way. I sit down with way too many people in group settings, individual settings, different expressions, charismatic, Baptist, like it doesn't matter. It's like you operate and run your life from this place of fear, not a healthy fear of the Lord, fear of man, fear of self, fear of failure, fear of what if. And it's like, it's not even about calling at that point, it's about identity.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm like, I think as little and as simple as an invite is to a table, I think a fearful, simple, common response is, oh, but I've been hurt.
Yeah.
This guy hurt me. This church hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, I'm sorry. Like that's awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you at the place they were hurt, a table was not prioritized. The expression that came from the table was prioritized. So it lost the identity of a grounded family unto nothing but seeking the Lord was lost.
Yeah.
And I feel like even when it comes to the gospel, because I always want to tie everything back to the gospel, like I feel like so many people, and I even want to say myself, like I didn't even grow up with a deep understanding of the gospel. I could sit here and say, We were once sinners, Jesus died, Jesus rose, where Jesus came down, Jesus died, Jesus rose. We shall be saved by grace through faith.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I got told the full gospel one time, and he started off with, we were walking with God in a garden as friends, naming animals with him. He desires a table with us. He desires to commune with us. The ultimate tied together, like God just wants to have communion with us, union. And I feel like that brings me so much reassurance of knowing how sufficient his grace is over my life, over this ministry, over every person I encounter, of like, man, like if I start this ministry, I know that like I'm prideful right now, so I never want to start this ministry, or I feel like I need to wait 6 more months until I get less prideful, and because if I don't, then I'm gonna have a moral failure. Or like, I wonder if people are gonna think if I start this Instagram account and start posting this, that people are gonna think I'm a prideful Instagram influencer that's a fake believer that really just wants clout. You know what I mean? These are real thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Or even to the provoking thought of you're at a worship night at name your church, and you look to your right, you just have this littlest inkling to go pray for that person. You're like, man, I'm gonna look like that Christian again. Oh, everyone just sees me as the person that wants attention to pray.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's the enemy. If the enemy can't get you to be busy, the enemy can't get you to sin, the enemy is gonna get you to think you need to be a pure and spotless, blameless lamb in order to step into anything God wants to do in and through you. And while it's not all about what he can do in and through you, because it's first about who you are in him, which is a royal priesthood, viewed as holy and blameless, brought into his presence as a son and a daughter. And once you have that revelation of your identity, and that you're nothing but a branch connected to a vine, like that branch on that tree right there isn't thinking like, am I a branch? No, the branch knows it's a branch.
Yeah.
Why are us as Christians straying away from, if I step into this desire I have, I feel like it's not God's, and I feel like this is going to happen, and then this. It's like, that's not prideful. That's not prideful. The devil will just get you to sit in analysis paralysis, paranoia for the rest of your life until you reach this point to where Jesus was, who lived the perfect life, which is prideful for you to think in the first place. It's more prideful to know a desire that God's put on your heart. You're reading the word, you're praying, and you're worshiping, you're giving him thanks. And you have these desires, but this little fear, this little voice inside of you is like, Will, if you start that ministry, these desires you still have, it's going to ruin it. People are going to view you this way. You're going to drive people to hell. You're like, all these things are going to happen. Like, that was dramatic, but like, these are real thoughts. But you know what faith does? Faith casts out all of that. It says, even if I still will. And it's almost this like faith that is so mustered up inside of you, they have no choice but to take action. And Christians live passive, apathetic lives for the gospel, 60, 70 years old. And they're like, man, I just lost my zeal. I lost my fire. I lost my passion. This is just what happens. You just lost faith. And it's like I look at what Paul said in Colossians 2 when he was talking about his desires for the church and what he would do and how he wanted to help the church. The first thing Paul says is, my desire is to encourage them in heart. The second thing he said he wanted to do was to unite them in love. And then the last thing he said is, I want to grow them in the knowledge of the hidden treasures of Christ. Encourage, unite, build up in knowledge. Why is it not the other way around? I think there's an order for everything. I feel like there's a reason for the order of everything. I feel like him saying, I pray that the church is encouraged in heart and united in love, because the church is fearful. The church lacks zeal. The church lacks passion. And I don't want to sit here talking in extremes of like the church or this church or whatever, but it breaks my heart to sit down with people and it's like, they're naming this addiction they have, or they're naming this past issue they've had, and now they're saved and following the Lord. They're like, man, like I want to step into this thing, but it's like, I know how I was. And it's like, do you actually believe that that's dead?
Yeah.
Colossians 3 says the old self is crucified, put on the new self. It doesn't say the old self is gone and has a potential to come back. No, no, no. You're the only one that can choose to go back to your bondage and your slavery. But we live our lives. I viewed life as like a self-depravity Christianity where it's like, man, I guess I'm just this way. I know I'm saved, but kind of have these issues. And it's almost offensive when you tell people, did you know you're free from that? Did you know you are free from that? That's offensive to people because it's so full of faith and it's so true. The full gospel is offensive because we like to stay in these chains and these bondages of the little flaws and characteristics that we have because we're human and he's God. And I think the best thing of what you were talking about with influencers, with these pastors and people, me and you and all these people leading something, I feel like the most reassuring thing is that God will do what God wants to do, and God likes to do what God likes to do. You can be the most prideful Instagram influencer. God will move. Praise the Lord. Paul literally says, I rejoice because Christ is being preached. And so I have to watch my heart being friends with a lot of people with a lot of influence and seeing all these things on Instagram and meeting a bunch of people. And I refuse to look at their heart, think like, man, you're prideful. Man, why is their Instagram that way? Why are they so focused on brand deals? I'm like, Christ is being preached. People are getting saved from Instagram reels. People are breaking up with toxic relationships because a great Christian influencer is posting relationship advice. Praise God that that's being posted and not the other things that could be posted and being viewed. And I feel like this all ties together with like operating from a place of fear results in me viewing people that way, results me operating in ministry that way, results in me not wanting a table. Operating from a place of sonship, from a place of love, it's free. Like the Christian life, having Christ in you, the hope of glory, is so freeing. Wow.
That was
I
awesome.
don't even know what question
You
started
answered
off
them all.
with.
No, that was good. That was awesome. It's so true and it's freeing. I know you just said that, but everything you just said is going to really unlock a lot of people. I I get analysis paralysis all the time, or paralysis analysis, whatever that thing is, because you think you're being, in my experience, if God's told me to go pray over someone or raise, like be free in worship, or, express your love for me in worship, and I'm just like, people are going to look at me, God, and if they're looking at me, they're not looking at you, or whatever.
There's a difference. To me, I could be operating from a place knowingly of selfish ambition, knowing that my networking abilities, whatever, your charisma, my charisma, personality, connections, you can do whatever you want and it will be externally blessed. God will still move, but what's the eternal fruit?
Yeah, that's good.
And I feel like you can do all, and this is why you can't know the heart of someone. Like you yourself I cannot look and say, I wonder if they're walking in obedience, or I wonder if they're prideful. Like you can maybe judge by the fruit of their life. It's like, who am I to judge? Christ is being preached, I rejoice. But I think I forget who it was, but there was this amazing author who visited this pastor that's been in jail for years upon years upon years for some awful sexual thing that happened within a church. And he asked him what happened. Like, why'd you stop following the Lord? Why'd you fall away? Why'd you do this? Or like, did you stop loving him? Like, what? Like what's going on? And the pastor behind bars said in an interview, I never stopped loving God. I stopped fearing him.
Wow, yeah.
And this is where that tight, like the narrow path is so narrow. You actually think like, oh, well, all these people are doing this. Like, that's a wide road. No. The path is narrow. Because you can be rid from fear of man. You can be like, I'm not fearful what anyone thinks. I'm going to step into whatever I want. I'm going to step into this because I think I'm supposed to, and I know I got the charisma. I can start whatever. I'm connected to him. I got this money. I'm going to start this and do this, and my power forward. If that is not matched with a reverence and fear of the Lord, of like, God, I'm so submitted to you, all in vain. And then doesn't it blow your mind though on that pastor that's behind bars? People were saved, baptized by the Holy Spirit, and are probably living incredible lives. How prideful of it, how prideful of us to think that because of our iniquities, our infirmities, that therefore, since we have iniquities and we're fallen, God can't move until I'm a pure and spotless, blameless lamb. How much of a slap in the face is that to God? How that in and of itself is pride. I think it's more humble to knowingly acknowledge your flaws, your past. You know this. You know you're a new creation in Christ. I think it's more humble to walk and take a step knowing that you've never done it before, you're not qualified, you've probably failed in the same field, but now it's like, Jesus, I desperately need you this entire time in order to do it right. Because I want to do this with you. And I feel like that is the most humble thing. And I feel like I don't even want to be on here and say, oh, this is some secret recipe. If you follow this faith formula, therefore this is going to come out and be the fruit of your ministry. No.
Yeah. It has to be in relationship.
It's relationship and a personal revelation of God's love for you. Because when you operate from that place of love, oh my gosh.
Yeah. You're who you're created to be. It's when we don't allow that love to come in that we almost distort. That's so good. A lot of what you just shared and expressed, I think we don't hear a lot about. I think it's being spoken more and more nowadays. Like I think people are getting that revelation of the true love of God, not just the God that has a bunch of rules, but the God that loves us so deeply that we can fully express who we are and who we've been created to be. It takes all the pressure off. One of my favorite little quotes is presence on me, pressure on God, because I'm not the one that is going to make the outcome successful or not successful. It's, am I obedient to God, what he's asked of me? Am I in that, walking and knowing that I'm loved? Like you said, we started in the garden. Our origin story with God is that we started as friends, and we handed that over to the enemy when we ate from the tree, right? And that's all God is trying to do, is bring us back. And it's not like we have to do something that's never been done. We just have to come back to who we've always been. And we're chasing something, and we're chasing what we think could fill the gap, right? Fill in the blank, X, Y, or Z, whatever it is, externally. But it's always been we've just got to remember who we are. We have to come back to who we are. And that's walking in the garden with God. And that's, like, I think kind of what you're expressing is, this isn't a copy paste thing that you've created. It's gonna be different in whatever sphere you're in. And it's gonna be expressed through who God truly created you to be. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a way to kind of like land the plane too, because I think I could just hit record and have you monologue honestly, and it would be just amazing. Yeah, if obviously I would love to create opportunity for people to sit at the table, right? If they want to know more, and I know you're not on here to publicize Run with Christ. I invited you on here. I wanted you to talk about your experiences with God. But if they're curious, like, how can they get in contact with Run with Christ? Maybe to get connected in their own community, their own church, whatever it is.
Yeah, I feel like this podcast has been, or this conversation has just been so fruitful for me. To almost put a realization that Run with Christ can disappear a year from now. Guess what never disappears? The table.
Yeah.
Guess what'll never disappear for anyone watching this? The table. Find a table and seek the Lord. What do you want? First wants you. First wants you to love him and then to love others. What does loving others look like? Does that look like a Run with Christ where you are and Does that look like a run with Christ in your city? Or maybe there already is one. What if it's something so new, out of the box, unhinged? Or what if it's so old, so boring, but it's the deepest well? And I feel like that's the only way I can sum it up is like, if you don't have a table, open up your own.
Yeah.
All we're doing, take the pressure off and invite people to come and look. Hey, just like come and look at him. Hey, like I'm looking at him, come and look at him with me. Not like, hey, come here and then like, let me show you all these things. Like, no, like look, he's right here. Come and look at Christ with us. And as we look at Christ together, it's like those desires, that sin, that bondage, that baggage just slowly gets stripped off. And it's like, that's my heart's desire. I don't care if I ever become a pastor, a teacher, church, like I don't care. It's the only thing I do for the rest of my life is invite people to come and see, to come and look with me. I've succeeded.
That's everything, honestly, to get to that point too. Because I mean, that's something that I've heard people say as far as like, I don't know, I don't know if I'm just like feeling God or something, and I'm just like, when you're in the flow and you're just feeling all kinds of ways, but
Oh, we're in the flow right now?
I think we're in the flow with flow.
We're in the swirl. We're in the flow.
We're
gonna get canceled now. We just said swirl.
Oh, wait, is swirl bad now?
No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna get canceled. Hashtag swirl. Okay, TM, that's ours now. No, this was amazing. And gosh, I really don't know why I can't think of any words, but I think this is just gonna be one that I'm gonna watch over and over and just like take notes on. And I think part of it is too, it's like you can tell just by being with you, like you really have died to yourself in the best way. And I think a lot of what you talked about even is fear of man. You can't be afraid if you're dead. And that might get me canceled. And that's not what I mean. I mean, dying to your ego, dying to your pride. Like that, we're so afraid of the unknown, what's on the other side. I've talked about the chicken line before on here, where it's like, I come up to a certain point, but then I go the opposite direction because I'm too afraid to cross the threshold. But it's like, once you taste and see that the Lord is good, once you've done that and gone past your point of pride, and just true humility is being obedient, even if you're going to be perceived a certain way, even if you're going to be perceived as being prideful, but that's a humble move for you. Like once you pass that threshold, it doesn't become as scary, but you're always caught by God. Like I always say, like, success isn't the outcome. Success is obedience. Success is taking the risk. When you take the risk, that was a successful thing. You did it. Congrats. Like heaven is cheering for you. Like God is so proud. And it doesn't matter how we're perceived on the outside, right? All that matters is like, God, how do you see me? Like, he asks us, who do we say that he is, right? Yeah.
I think sometimes I wonder though, when you say success.
Yeah.
What do Christians define success as?
Yes. And
I think that's a great question.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I was like, success isn't the outcome. Yeah. For me, success is yes, just saying yes. And that.
And I feel like this isn't anything I came up with or ever, like this was spoken to me. You want to know what God's will is for your life, a specific lane. I had this like literally vivid thought and phrase put into my mind about 4 months ago in Waco, Texas. I think when it comes to this phrase that I heard, get lost, when it comes to God's will for your life. Oh, we want straight and narrow. We want it to be this picture and this pathway. What if God is just like, get lost with me? You were lost when I found you. Why not get lost with me now? If God met us while we were actually literally and figuratively lost in the world, why don't we get lost again, but now with him?
Yeah.
And people have different views, but what if God's will for your life is whatever option you're choosing between? I love asking the question, which one drives you to your knees of deeper dependence for him? I think that's his will for your life.
Yeah.
If there's an option that makes you sleepy, and over the next 20 years you slowly lose your dependence, because I think that's what happens. I feel like that's what breaks my heart, traveling to different places where there's different nations where there's such a desperation. I come back to certain areas here in the US, and
Mm.
it's like it's just a slow woo to sleep of the mundane, of so comfy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what if we weren't created to know and to be comfy? What if we were created to get lost with God and just be so full of faith? Because I feel like it's one thing to say, I have faith and I've stored up faith, but is your faith really being activated and provoked? I can be 30 years old and a lot of faith, say I have a lot of faith, and then a family member dies, and then I lose my house, I lose my car. Do I have faith? And I don't know, these are just challenging thoughts to people that question or always in this debate between which one, which one. His presence will follow you
Mm-hmm.
all the days of your life. He indwells within you. Move here, move there. Guess what? God's in both places. And I believe he delights in your desires. And if you're seeking him in all you do, he's going to bless it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I digress.
No, that was so good. That was great. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And it's amazing what God's doing in Columbus, and it's just cool to witness it and see. And so thank you for saying yes to all of that. And yeah, even if, if RWC continues for 20 decades, or like you said, if it's done in a year, God be glorified. He's been glorified so much through it already. But thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.